People like us in the open world, in the open culture, understand that it's not a miracle when thousands of individuals across the planet get together on the internet to co-design, develop, and distribute something that anybody can use. Things like Linux, Wikipedia, Ethereum. But it took a long time for institutions and the public at large to recognize open source development. It took a very long time for the use of open source software to be legitimized. And when it comes to open source hardware, we're still at the beginning of the game. It turns out that the stuff that the crowd makes in some cases is very essential. And this new mode of innovation and production that we can call peer production, it's sometimes the only viable path to provide solutions to critical problems. Let's go back and look at the COVID crisis, when supply chains were disrupted and the mainstream economic system receded like a tidal wave, revealing lurking beneath the surface a viable peer production system. And that is thousands of makers across the world designing, producing, and delivering essential medical supplies to hospitals. And that was before any institution could produce a meaningful response. Problem is that all these medical supplies that were provided by the makers were rejected at the door, not because they were not needed by the hospitals, not because of a lack of imagination, motivation, or incentives. The problem was a failure of trust. These devices were not produced through the regulated supply chain. They were not accredited. There are some rare chronic diseases for which there is no cure, and for which we know that there are treatments that exist that can prolong the lives and improve the lives of patients that cannot be addressed by the private sector, that cannot be addressed through the mainstream economic system. One such a case is cystic fibrosis, which is a congenital disease that only affects 160,000 individuals across the planet. Now, compare that with patients living with diabetes. There are about 500 million, and you can understand why companies cannot operate in such a small niche, cannot produce a meaningful response. Peer production, open source development and peer production are the only viable solutions. So we work with a hospital in Montreal, Saint Justine Children's, to provide an open source do-it-yourself instrument that can help these patients do their therapy. In order for such a device to be implemented at a large scale, we need to bridge this gap of trust between the traditional world and the open world and its peer production system. So we engage with Health Canada to satisfy the requirements for safety and efficiency of medical devices, knowing that such an instrument, it's not produced by a traditional company that can follow the proper regulations, that trust is not put in an organization. Such an instrument is designed by an open network of designers and produced by almost anyone. And it just turns out that the peer-to-peer technology, blockchain, other type of DLTs, provide solutions to build a chain of trust and bridge that trust gap between current institutions and peer production. So what we bring to the table is not just a technological solution. We're planning to use existing technologies, existing primitives, just integrate them together. The main value that we bring to the table is 15 years of experience in material peer production. It is established relations between our open network, functioning as a peer production network, and traditional institutions like research centers, hospitals, governmental agencies. And we bring a strategy to help institutions recognize peer production and such solutions, to help them engage in a process of transformation and change, institutional change. So trust infrastructure saves lives. Ethereum saves lives. And our little project within this little niche where the mainstream economic system breaks down will create a precedent to legitimize peer production as a whole.